Society live on this Wednesday night in April. My name is David Morrison. I am the Vol Society analyst right here on the Vol Society Network. Don't forget, Facebook.com/UT Vol Society. It's your one-stop place for all things UT athletic news. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, welcome. And also, don't forget to like our video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about Tony Vitello's 4-game suspension that started back on Sunday in the rubber matchup with Alabama. And we'll talk about exactly what happened in that led up to the suspension. We will also preview Florida coming up this weekend. And then we're going to talk about Josh Pate, one of our favorite college football voices. He answered a question about the future of Tennessee football on a recent episode of Late Kick Live. We're going to dive into that. But we're going to start the show off with a story that I did not write in the description title because I ended up typing it up Monday. And this big-time recruit committed to Tennessee Tuesday morning, Caleb Herring. So we're going to start the show off talking about Caleb Herring. Caleb Herring, the #1 high school player in the state of Tennessee, committed to the University of Tennessee Tuesday morning, right around lunchtime, if you will. He's a 4-star edge rusher from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, plays at Riverdale High School in Murfreesboro. He chose Tennessee over Georgia and Miami. His brother Elijah Herring, he signed with Tennessee in the 2022 class. So, like I said, this is a huge pickup for Tennessee. Very excited. What do you think about this high school recruit? You can go ahead and leave your comments in our chat room about what do you think about this upcoming 2023 class that is looking really good, whether you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube. And like I said, I'm very excited to see Caleb Herring come to Tennessee. He's really been vocal about joining the Vols for a long time now. I know a lot of these other high school rankings try to, start up a little drama or some buzz, if you will, like he may be leaning to Georgia, maybe leaning to Miami. He was coming to Tennessee all along, and it's now official up until National Signing Day when he sends his letter of intent in. But like I said, very happy that Caleb Herring, like I said, is coming to Tennessee. Going to add some explosiveness on the end. With Rodney Gardner as his coach. Like I said, that D-line is starting to add some depth along the way. Like I said, he's still got his senior year held to my grandparents watching along. And like I said, we mentioned he is the #1 high school football player in the state of Tennessee. And this is really huge for the University of Tennessee. For years and years, Tennessee has always dominated their home state, picking up state elite talent. Now, I understand you're not going to sign every high school football player in the state of Tennessee to join the Vols. It's just not going to happen. And I have no issue with with Tennessee branching out, going to other states, picking talent out. That's just the name of the game of recruiting, and with your connections and relationships in the pipeline, if you will, of drawing talent in. But you really want to own your home state. You want to prove that the University of Tennessee in Knoxville is the state school. And really, Tennessee has struggled in the last few years, primarily with the last coaching staff. I mean, I was looking at 24/7 Sports the last, I'll say, 10 years, just the state of Tennessee, and has Tennessee landed them? And Caleb Herring is a part of the class of 2023. He's already signed. You missed out last year with Walter Nolan going to Texas A&M. You can probably say NIL is a part of that deal. But then 2021, you missed out. 2020, you signed Key Lawrence but he ended up transferring to Oklahoma after the whole McDonald's bag incident happened. You missed out on 2019. 2018, you eventually got Cade Mays to UT for a couple of years, but remember, he originally committed to the University of Georgia, and he went to Knox Catholic High School. 2017, you land Trey Smith, and at that time, he was the #1 high school player in the nation, according to ESPN's Top 300. You missed out in 2015, and then going back to the Butch Jones era, 2014 and 2015, that's when they were really racking up the talent. 2015, you signed the top 3 players: Kyle Phillips, Jawan Jennings, Drew Richmond. 2014, Jalen Hurd, Josh Malone, Todd Kelly Jr., and Derek Barnett. So we haven't seen this since the Butch Jones era. And if you want to give some credit to Butch Jones, he knew the connections to bring in-state talent to Tennessee, and he had those relationships. And with Coach Pruitt, I don't think he did. He didn't have those connections and the relationships with the coaches. And it feels like Josh Heupel is finally reaching out and getting them. And of course, Mike Elker, director of recruiting at Tennessee, and all the other assistant coaches going out and establishing relationships, developing relationships, and the kids in the state of Tennessee, they know who Tennessee is. But like I said, I mentioned last week, they weren't born whenever Tennessee was winning 10, 11 games and going to, BCS bowl games and major New Year's bowl games. And, they've all, Tennessee's just been the punching line, and other schools from the SEC have kind of piqued these other athletes' interests. It's like, why would I go to Tennessee to only win 5, 6, 7 games when I can go to Alabama and win a national championship, or go to Georgia and play for an SEC championship, or wherever else? And a lot of great talent has left the state of Tennessee and branched out everywhere, and you lost those relationships along the way. Now it seems like you're finally catching up a little bit. So we'll see where Tennessee goes. Like I said, you kind of looking at my notes here, you have Caleb Herring. You also have, I think Jack Luttrell is from the state of Tennessee. Nate Spillman is from Nashville, plays at Lipscomb Academy, where Trent Dilfer is the head coach at Lipscomb Academy in Nashville. As a matter of fact, Nate's younger brother, Edwin Spillman, is the #1, as of right now, the #1 junior high school football player in the state of Tennessee. So if you can get the Spillman brothers, like I said, you already got Nate, and you get Edwin the next year, hey, that's great. You'll have back-to-back years. For the first time since 2014-15, you've had the #1 high school player in the state of Tennessee. So, like I said, still a long way to go on that. But like I said, this 2023 class is shaping out really good. And if you're keeping up at home, right now Tennessee has Nico, Caleb Herring, Ethan Davis, who is becoming one of the top tight ends, not only in the nation right now. He's flirting at that 5-star range, and Tennessee's locked him up several months ago. Trevor Duncan, Nathan Robinson, I think we mentioned him last week, committed to Tennessee. Jack Luttrell, Aiden Bussell from Mount Juliet, Tennessee, and then Nate Spillman from Nashville. So like I said, this 2023 class is really shaping out. Then you have the rumors going out. Carnell Tate, we mentioned him last week, the 5-star wide receiver from Chicago. For many, many months was linked up to Ohio State. Now he pays that visit to Tennessee, talks to Spire Sports, who is in charge of NIL at Tennessee. Talk to them, talk to Nico, talk to Coach Heupel, where he fits in. Now, according to On3 Recruiting, which I don't think we've mentioned on the show, Carnell Tate has a 53% chance of coming to the University of Tennessee, when he was like in the 90s projected to go to Ohio State. And that's a 5-star wide receiver. So really clicking. And now I heard today that Tennessee's looking at a 5-star offensive tackle from Florida. I forgot to write his name down before I went on there. But it's like I said, this class right now is potentially can be history making if everything works out. Like I said, they still got another year of high school football, and I'm excited about the 2022 class. But like I said, this class right here could end up picking up, if everything works out, 3 5-star players along the way. Tennessee didn't miss out on a big time recruit this past Sunday in Kyler Casper. Honestly, I thought Kyler Casper would be coming to Tennessee because of his connections with Nico. They paid a recruiting visit up to Oregon. I thought, well, we probably won't get Carnell Tate, but we can probably get Kyler Casper, and it looks like it's going to be the opposite way around. Kyler Casper is heading to Oregon. Missed out on a 4-star wide receiver. He was 6'5", like 195 pounds. It's a blow, but like I said, if it could end up working out in the end. So, like I said, recruiting's looking really good at the University of Tennessee. All right, let's jump into baseball and the Tony Vitello suspension. We'll go ahead and I guess we need to talk about Friday night's game because that sets up for what happened in the top of the first inning against Alabama on Saturday. So Tennessee suffers their first SEC loss, 6-3 the final score. Chase Burns gets his first loss at Tennessee. Only went 3 innings pitched, and ended up giving up 7 hits, 5 runs, 4 strikeouts. Like I said, Alabama jumped out on him pretty early. Drew Gilbert, Lipscomb, and actually Tennessee ended up jumping out pretty early, I should say, with Drew Gilbert and Trey Lipscomb with a couple of RBIs as Tennessee went up early in the first inning, and then Alabama responded back. Jarrell Ortega did hit a home run in the 6th, but like I said, Alabama gave Tennessee its first SEC loss, 6-3 the final score. The home plate umpire that night was Jeffrey McCavis, and there were some questionable calls as far as where the strike zone was. But you can probably say that with every baseball game you watch. And I think the Tennessee coaching staff noticed that, and I think Vitello was ready to say something to him the next time he saw him. So let's jump into Saturday. Top of the first inning, Chase Dolander pitching. Alabama player up to bat. Dolander throws pitch, and the Alabama player line drives it back up to Dolander, and it hit it off his pitching arm. And I think that's probably where, in my opinion, this is what I think happened. I think that's when Tony Vitello was like, here's my opportunity to go confront Jeffrey McCavis and the entire umpire staff from pretty much what happened with last night's game. So Dolander goes down. He's grabbing his pitching arm. And Frank Anderson, the pitching coach, went out first, said some words to the home plate umpire and Jeffrey McCamus, who's now at third base Saturday night. Let's see. Kevin Huckabee, he says, I was so glad to brag about the Vols winning 2-3 against Alabama because after the first game, Bama fans were bragging on Facebook. I'm sure they were. They come in droves out there. But, yeah, so Frank Anderson says something. He gets ejected early on, and then Vitello was just right behind him and then was going after McCavis, said some words, and then Vitello got ejected, and then that's when the chest bump happened. I think this was just building up to what happened Friday night, and like I said, just the first little thing that he knew that he can get his piece off, if you will. He was going to make a statement, and he did. You know, it is baseball. I'll just say that. I've seen it, over the years being a Braves fan with Bobby Cox and more recently with Brian Sticker. It's like, all right, here's our opportunity to say something. And even players have done that, whether you watch Major League Baseball or probably not so much with college, but more Major League Baseball where you see a series where players are kind of hitting each other with pitches and frustration builds up and then something escalates in the end. I think that's probably what happened is just Tony Vitello took Friday night's loss and just kind of build into Saturday. But Tennessee does go on to win that game 9-2. Home runs in the first inning and sixth inning by Jordan Beck. Lippius hit a home run in the sixth also. Kansas Soul ended up picking up the win because Dollander had to leave the game. They were at a precautions. Looks like he's going to be okay from what I hear. Also, a funny little note I wrote down before I went on the air. So Tony Vitello was around UT's campus today, and he had like a sign over his chest, and he was doing, for $2, you can chest bump him. And all the money proceeds the Wounded Warrior Project. So an interesting scenario there. Like I said, Tony Vitello end up getting the 4-game suspension. So did Frank Anderson. They miss the rubber matchup Sunday against Alabama, which Tennessee ended up winning that one 15-4. I mean, yeah, you can tell they were ready to go off on Alabama. And like I said, like Kevin says, winning 2 or 3 against Bama, yeah, you're going to brag a lot. So like Ortega with a home run in the 4th inning. Trey Lipscomb hit a home run in the 5th and the 6th. Jordan Beck hit one in the 8th. Drew Beam stays undefeated as he now is 8-0 on the year. Like I said, this is the first game of the Vitello suspension. So like I said, no harm, no foul. And then real quickly, we mentioned Tuesday night, the Vols took on Bellarmine. I think that's how you say it. They won 9-3. Not much to really talk about in that game. Usually these midweek games, you see more. I mean, you'll see your normal starting 9. Lipscomb may play, Ortega, maybe an Evan Russell, but you'll see more of your reserve players, like a Kyle Booker comes to mind. And then Xander Zecrest ended up getting the win. He's 3-0 in midweek, or 3-0 so far in the year. I think he's had like 5 or 6 midweek starts. So Tennessee now will get ready to take on the Florida Gators down in Gainesville this weekend. All the games are on the SEC Network Plus app. Friday night at 6:30, Saturday night 6:30, Sunday at noon. The Gators are right now 23-14 on the season, 6-9 in the SEC. They're 15-6 at home on the year. Compared to Tennessee, Vols are now 34-3, 14-1 in the SEC, 6-0 on the road. So remember when Tennessee went to those hostile environments at Ole Miss and Vanderbilt and ended up sweeping both of them series. Like I said, I'm sure the Florida fans are going to be coming out ready to go. Like I said, Tennessee baseball is not kind of a hot ticket. It is a hot ticket. It's crowds are going to be out. They're going to be rowdy because, we're the quote unquote villains of the SEC and we'll take it. Like I said, I don't know if I should make this comparison. So I hope my Vol fans will forgive me for what I'm about to say. It seems like Tennessee baseball almost has the same mentality as Florida football from the 90s. Now, I'm not trying to say like Steve Spurrier is to Tony Vitello, but you think about what Florida football was back in the 90s, kind of that swagger, putting up a lot of offensive numbers. Some of the quotes that they say in press conferences kind of relate or, kind of is headline news. And now in the days of social media, it really spreads out. It seems like that's kind of where Tennessee baseball is heading a little bit. And which is quite funny how it all works out. But, hey, like I said, it gives Tennessee baseball an identity. Like I said, whether they're, you want to compare it to kind of like a Florida football of the 90s or a Duke basketball of any decade you want to pick, including now. Like I said, it gives people a buzz and a something to talk about when it comes to this program. And like I said, the college baseball media is talking about us. I mean, I one of my YouTube channels I subscribe to, is D1 baseball, and they always have like a couple of video podcasts throughout the week. And the last several weeks, they've really talked about Tennessee, and including the Tony Vitello suspension. So they're talking about us out there, and some of it's good and some of it's bad, but it's all fun. As far as the current SEC baseball standings go, Tennessee still leads and if for those who may or may not know, SEC plays divisions in baseball compared to football. So Tennessee is on top of the SEC East, really on top of the SEC overall if you want to combine both East and West. But in the East right now, Tennessee's in first, followed by Georgia, Vanderbilt, Florida, South Carolina, Missouri, Kentucky. And then out west, Arkansas leads the way. Then Auburn, Texas A&M, Alabama, LSU, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss. Which is crazy to think Mississippi State, who won it last year, won the whole thing last year, is 6th in the SEC West. I mean, just shows you how deep SEC baseball is week in and week out. Looking at some stats right now for the baseball team, Jared Ickey leads the team in batting average, hitting .384. And then Trey Lipscomb pretty much leads everything else. Leads in hits, leads in home runs, leads in RBIs. So 50 hits, 15 home runs, 57 RBIs. 9 players on this Tennessee baseball team is hitting 300 or better. Trey Lipscomb, Luke Lippius hitting .298 and Evan Russell's at .295. I mean, this team is just an offensive machine all the way around. And then I mentioned Drew Beam, 8-0 on the year. That weekend rotation right now, I believe, is like 14-1 now, as I know Chase Mercer took that loss last week. But should be an interesting series coming up this weekend down in Florida. All right, let's dive into Josh Pate as I pull my notes here. So an interesting question that was brought up on the Late Kick Live show, which is owned by 24/7 Sports through CBS Sports. So Josh Pate, my opinion, one of the rising voices in college football. Really love listening to his show each and every week. Last few episodes, he's been doing Q&As since not a lot of news is going on. But if you were asked a question, about he took 4 programs, Arkansas, Nebraska, Ole Miss, and Tennessee, and pretty much asked, is the expectations too high? Should fans just figure they should be at 8 or 9 wins, kind of get over it? But then he also kind of threw in like the right, they just need to hire the right guy for the program. So basically, I'm kind of, not quote word for word what Josh said, but basically he just says as far as like the programs go, Nebraska, he said kind of, maybe you can compare with Nebraska, because, they have really slid further than probably where Tennessee has. Ole Miss, he said no because of Lane Kiffin, and Ole Miss can win with him. Arkansas, not really, but, being in the SEC West with the likes of playing Alabama and Auburn and LSU and now Ole Miss, one of those, and Texas A&M, one of those teams can win the SEC West or whatnot. And then for Tennessee, he says, no, not at all. And he compared Tennessee to Clemson. He's like, look at Clemson. What is Clemson doing that Tennessee's not doing? Tennessee, they have the fan base. They still draw a good crowd each and every week. The facilities is great. The money is still flowing in. You got NIL. The recruiting is there. What are they missing? And he said, kind of quoting this guy, the right guy. And he said Tennessee has not hired the right guy in a long time. And he named off our former coaches. And he says, I think Tennessee may have hired the right guy a year ago with Josh Heupel. Only time will tell. But he really complimented us. And he says, they have the fan base. You got a good coach right now. Facilities is top notch. The money is there. NIL, with Nico, and even the recruiting, if you don't get like the top player in the state of Tennessee, you try to get your region. If you don't get that, go to the transfer portal. And if that didn't work out, Tennessee went out to California and sign a 5-star quarterback. So that was really a really good video. Definitely check it out from Josh Pate and Lake Kick Live. Like I said, we're big fans of him on Vol Society Live. That's pretty much so. That's actually a pretty quick episode right there. But like I said, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/UT Vol Society. Like I said, we got a lot of cool stuff coming up. Right now, we're still going through baseball season. Like I said, we'll obviously we think this is going to be it's a great baseball season so far. Just can't wait to see what the end result's going to be. Like I said, we'll still have some more recruiting news, especially now with the summer coming along. Obviously the high school kids are now going to be out for the summer, and some of them are going to start making announcements of where they're going to play college football. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that, and any more rumors or whatnot, we'll try to bring it to you here on Vol Society Live as far as potential players go. Like I said, also, if you're still interested in us doing a podcast, not just the Wednesday night show, but having Brad, myself, and other Vol Society voices, like I said, reach out to us, direct message us, say, you want a Vol Society podcast. We're tentatively trying to schedule that in the summertime. So, like I said, reach out to us and see if there's some interest in it, and hopefully we can get that recorded. Like I said, thank you for continuing to support us each and every week, tuning in every Wednesday night for Vol Society Live. It's been a lot. Like I said, it's been a lot of fun continuing to do this each and every week, bringing you the latest in Tennessee athletic news. That's all I really got tonight. Like I said, it was a pretty quick show. But like I said, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you right back. Catch you right back here next Wednesday night here on Vol Society Live. Until then, this has been David Morrison saying, have a great night and go Vols.